Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Peace Train podcast. My name is Renee Mollan-Masters, and I am your host and author of the book Peace Train, A Love Story. This podcast will be dedicated to an idea that is demonstrated in my book, and it's called a friendship pod. A friendship pod creates connection through listening. This is not a new idea, but it takes courage to engage in. William Ury, best-selling author of Getting to Yes, says the key to conflict resolution is listening. Today, many of us feel disconnected from one another. We see our politicians and leaders fighting using a tribal-like mentality. We have become so polarized with each other, it has kept us from finding any common ground. The Peace Train podcast will be centered around the idea that listening is the key. On today's episode, we have invited 4 guests, 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats. Each person will have a chance to say what is important to them while the others listen. After a short break to allow what was said to integrate, our guests will share, once again, using the same ground rules. There will be no discussion. We hope to learn if anything changed for them. Did they find anything they could agree upon? Did this provide a different perspective about Democrats and/or Republicans? And in the end, we will see what we discover. So now, I'd like to once again welcome you to the Peace Train podcast. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate this a lot. Today, we are not going to discuss, okay? Because what discussion does is it separates. And what we're going to do is just listen to one another. Hear what is important to them about what they believe. And just let it affect you. Just listen. And when it's your time to talk, don't comment on what they have said, because that's what we're interested in. We want to hear what's important to you. Then we'll take a break. And during the break, you can talk to one another if you want, but I would rather you just sort of walk around, there's a bathroom, and just kind of don't try and do anything. Just let it have an impact on you. And then you're going to have a minute to talk about your experience. And I just want to say you can't do this wrong. I think because we're in such a habit of discussing everything to the nth degree, trying to come to some kind of understanding from one another. But my experience is, how do I say this? My commitment to my point of view softens. And when that happens, you can work together with people.
My name is Kevin Hooper. I am a Democrat. I originally started out as a Republican. I came from a very conservative small town, and I was always taught that the government is here to serve the people. The people are not here to serve the government. And the older I got, the more I saw that the Democratic Party represented that though the policies that they would pass and the things the politicians pushed for was allowing the government to serve and take care of the people. And I also saw that the Democratic Party was all about giving people more rights and not limiting the rights of people, what people can do. So I'm talking about the LGBTQ rights. I'm talking about decriminalizing certain substances. I'm talking about just taking more of just policies that really seem to take more care for people and about the people. So I switched over, and yeah, because, I see throughout history that the people who limit folks tend to be on the wrong side of it. And it seemed like the Democratic Party was about expanding that.
My name is Renee. I am a registered Republican. I'm an 18 years old, so pretty new to this whole game. And I grew up in a very small town of 1,000 people, and that helped shape my identity towards being Republican. My entire family has always been more that way, or almost more libertarian of, I don't want the government to touch anything I own. And I picked up quite a few of those beliefs growing up. And the biggest driving factor for me, though, was that I grew up hunting. I grew up working off of land and providing for yourself. I was told that you aren't entitled to anything in life except for what you work for. And a lot of that has pushed me towards the Republican beliefs of working for yourself and not relying on other people. And even going into college and, not having a lot of money, being, fully dependent upon yourself, I'm still keeping those ideals. And I realize why a lot of students do look towards more democratic ideas going into college because of that. And I find that here on campus at SOU as well. And for me, it's really hard to find other students my age that are Republican, because I think so many of them don't see what I see through the political party. And because of that, I find it really hard to voice my opinions in classes or in discussions, because I'll have people say, well, that's just wrong. And they don't want to talk it out like I do. I'm willing to hear anybody's point of view on anything and let it resonate with me. Whether I agree with it or not is completely out of the question. I've met people from across the country through organizations I've been in that grow up in, towns smaller than mine to downtown Los Angeles. And I've met kids all in between that. And hearing those different stories have also led me to believe that not everything in my party is perfect, obviously. There are things that I don't agree with. There are things that I see as wrong or more old-fashioned, I guess. A lot of people see Republicans as, old white guys. And I don't see that. I see it as a promotion for your freedom and your liberties within following the Constitution and those rights. And for me, that's the biggest reason why I vote Republican.
Hi, my name's Mike. I am registered libertarian, but tend to vote Democrat, or have in the last several elections. So the reason that I have wound up, I think, voting Democrat more often, I do come from a long line of farmers and conservatives, so Republicans for generations. But I think my mom was the first member to kind of raised me a little bit more liberal, a little more left-leaning, and so early on I got involved with straight but not narrow and other inclusion groups and things like that. Welfare has both impacted my life and the life of many people around me, so welfare programs have always been very important to me. So I find that the Democrats tend to support these policies a little more often. I am registered libertarian because I believe that less government is good, but really I think that translates in my heart to less military, less industrial, less support for Wall Street, less of that sort of government, and more looking out for poor people, looking out for minorities, looking out for working class families. And a lot of the issues that are being discussed right now by, for instance, the Bernie Sanders campaign resonates super strongly with me. I would like to see a lot of his ideas implemented. The Green Deal, the AOC coalition seems vastly appealing to me. It seems revolutionary, and I think I'm ready to see a fundamental change in how we do everything. I find that the Republican Party is more often caught saying one thing and doing the other. The Democratic Party does as well. I'm not under any illusions, but that is why I think I resonate more Democrat.
I'm Amanda. I'm a registered Republican, and I am a Republican now because of playing with different ideas and different ideologies, and just kind of checking things out. When I was in college the first time in my, when I was 18, 19, 20, I was a Republican, but that was kind of more of a knee-jerk reaction to my environment. And then I moved to Germany and saw more of a socialist government and kind of fell in love with that idea as well. I have gone back to the Republican values at this point in my life, because what I find is that The other ideologies that I have looked into don't really take the individual into consideration as far as recognizing the power and the independence of each person in our country. And I fear that if we look to a government to take care of us, that we are losing our own abilities to make good and bad decisions. And I have learned so much from struggling, and it has created a resiliency in me that I am so proud of, and feel that this has really shaped who I am. And I know that there are times in my life where it would have been easier to have someone help me out. And I know that there are times where that is necessary, because I've had that as well. But I am really thankful for people believing in my own power. I'm thankful for the people saying that I have the ability to do it, and the independence and the value system to make good decisions. I believe in each person in this country, in their ability to do right. And that's it.
Okay, we're back from the break. You have 1 minute to share what listening did for you. And we will go in the same order. Kevin, you're first, then Renee, Mike, and Amanda. Okay, are we ready?
Yes and no, and I say no because I've always been willing to listen to the other side. I'm a firm believer is that we're never going to grow unless we learn as much as we can, and you can't learn as much as you can if you are actively trying to cut off sources of information. But yeah, I'm always, and I think this kind of goes with any political party or anything where people feel strongly with. There's people on all sides of the spectrum that I really don't want to listen to because I don't feel like they actively listen to me. I'm happy that in this circle, we all seem to listen and we all seem to be understanding people. So that solidifies the belief that no matter what the party line is on both sides, there's good, decent people who have an ideal for what they think the best way it is for the citizens in this country. And sometimes we disagree, sometimes we agree, but yeah.
I mean, I would definitely say most of the people I interact with on campus are probably more democratic, and I'm willing to listen to their points of views, and I hear them and I understand them. And when I go to voice mine, oftentimes it's like, oh my gosh, how can you be that way? You know, you're racist, you're homophobic, you're XYZ. And so I would be like, no, like that's not who I am as a person. Like, I don't agree with those standpoints. But most of the time they aren't willing to listen. And a lot of that is maturity block. I mean, I know I'm not quite at the level of, higher thinking in my life. And so it's nice to get to sit down with people that are older than me and hear their standpoints on issues that I've, gone either way on in life. And continually broadening my information intake is something that I strive to do. And I try and listen as much as I can to other people's points of views. And I find other people's lives like 10 times more interesting than mine. And so I want to hear about people's lives, no matter what side of the spectrum they are on in terms of political views. And so I think this was a really nice opportunity to keep expanding that kind of broadened knowledge.
I like to believe that I always enjoy listening to anyone that's willing to talk to me. So yeah, hearing other sides explains where you get there, and I try not to think that someone else is somewhere because they don't know better. When I was younger, I might have easily fallen into that, like, well, if you just knew better, you'd feel more like I do. But so listening to all the different perspectives now is more positional for me, and saying, oh, okay, I see that, I'm part of the blue part of this rainbow and you're part of the red part of this rainbow, but we really all are still, making the complete picture. So yeah, that's fundamental for me. And I feel like again, the same thing that would allow me to be comfortable in this kind of setting is the idea that I'm extroverted and I like hearing and talking and being around other people's divergent opinions and ideas. Because again, it's what drives growth, as I believe I kind of heard earlier. So
I love using the rainbow and talking about doing the blue and the red and the rainbow, because I'm definitely purple. And I think I'm purple in a society that doesn't allow people to be purple. And the country is so polarized. And so there's so much hate that is being spewed just for ideas and beliefs. And those are the things that we should be celebrating, is people's ideas and beliefs. And so this kind of a situation where we are in a space where it is defined as a safe place to be purple or blue or red or whatever you're going to choose to believe within your own fundamental basic values. I think that I wish that there were more times where it was safer to express, because I, as a Republican, have felt people making a lot of assumptions about me as well. And so it is nice to have the ability to say that is not me, and to look at things in a broader view without the polarization and the hatred and the anger.
Natural response to that, because every Republican I know, and I'm going to assume present company included, has more in common with me than different than me, right? So the idea that we have to do these unitive things, we have to do things that remind us that we all just want to get enough money to pay our bills and raise our babies and maybe go see a movie, right? Like, if we could just pull that much off, right, most of us are happy. And then everything else is, now that's just the needles go a little bit, so unitive stuff. I think that's the friendship pods seem like a natural expression of what the earth needs, right? Or at least this part of the earth right now. So anyway.
So my co-producer here is with us, and her name is Marcella, and we're going to talk about what we got from this experience. And I wish we had recorded it, but during the break, the participants, we told them to be quiet and they couldn't shut up. They were just so connected and talking to one another. It was loud. And we had to, we told them to stop 2 or 3 times and they never did.
Right.
And I think that what we did is we broke a dam, and all of a sudden it was safe for them to be who they were, and they just were celebrating it.
Yeah, it was really quite interesting after we told them, okay, you guys, you're not supposed to really be talking right now. And we even got sucked in. We got sucked into the conversation. So it was like, and we're like, wait, we're not supposed to be talking. But I do agree. What I noticed was that this openness and their comfortableness with each other from when they very first started, and it was 2 minutes each. So we're like talking 8 minutes that they had to interact with each other, and they didn't know each other. 2 people knew each other. But that was fascinating to me. To see their comfort just after listening to each other for 2 minutes.
And to hear from a couple of the people that when they have shared their particular point of view out in the real world, they had been attacked. Even the student at college had been attacked.
Right.
So they were feeling a little bit gun shy.
Right.
And that's the kind of stuff that's going on right now.
And like what Amanda said about being purple, she said it's, a little bit of blue, a little bit of red, and being purple, she doesn't feel very accepted either.
Yeah.
To see kind of both sides of things.
Yep.
I understand that. I feel like I'm in that kind of category too.
Right. Me too. So you, Marcy, you mentioned something about your sisters.
Yeah. I had this weird experience where through this experiment that we just conducted, the 2 gals that were Republicans, number one, I didn't expect this to be set up this way. When we decided to do this, I thought we were going to get, yes, 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, but somehow I thought the Republicans were going to be male. I don't know why. In my mind, they were going to be male. And yeah, they were going to have some harsh, stances. And what this taught me was, wow, okay, we've got an 18-year-old and then a more mature, two women. And to hear their stances on it made me think, I have had a different idea of what a Republican is. So this little experiment for me, as one of the facilitators of it, taught me something about Republicans that I'm like, wow, I didn't realize that some Republicans think this way. I thought they all thought that weird, the way that I don't really agree with. So, and my sisters I have 3 Republican sisters, and we don't really talk too much, but I know that they're different and our ideas are different and everything. But that's why I really got something just by, producing this thing, watching it transform. It transformed my own idea of what I thought a Republican looked like or sounded like.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I feel like what's happened is that because nobody is listening to one another,
Yeah.
that the Republicans have gotten sort of obsessive, and so have the Democrats. And the idea is, because we're a two-party system, if we have to listen to one another, we don't get too far out. We're
Right.
not, we keep each other so we don't get too extreme.
Right.
And because we haven't been listening to one another, both sides have gone way over the top.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
have gotten so extreme.
Yeah.
And
what Mike said at the end, Mike says, he realized that he has an awful lot more in common with a Republican than not.
yeah,
He kind of had the view of, I see that that is the case.
yeah,
In any kind of situation, all of us, we really do. We have a lot more in common. And if we would just sit down and just listen and not develop a response and just it doesn't mean that you have to change your views or your beliefs. But if you just open up just enough to hear somebody else's perspective and their experience, you can learn so much from that.
and it can make it's like what I see is that when a Democrat and a Republican listen to one another and they're trying to solve a problem, the solution they come up with, if they've worked together, is a whole lot better
Yeah.
than each of them individually.
I totally agree.
It's,
I couldn't
it's
agree
like
more.
and it serves everybody,
Everybody.
instead of one side or the other.
Right, favoring one or the other.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I totally agree.
And so that's one of the things that I saw.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's what we're trying to do with this podcast is to just, try to facilitate that listening, the
Yeah.
friendship pod listening.
and you can do this anywhere. I mean, my husband and I used to use it when we were having arguments together,
Great.
and it was very helpful. And people that are on boards together, it really helps get the board working together.
Yeah.
So there's many different uses for these friendship pods,
Yeah,
and this is just one of them.
yeah. And we're going to try to display or bring to you, the people, all different kinds of scenarios
Yeah,
that this could work with.
right. And if you
It's pretty
want,
exciting.
if you want to learn more about friendship pods, I put them in my book, Peace Train.
Right.
And you can get it at Amazon in any kind of format you could possibly want. And it's a real inspiring story.
Right.
And it demonstrates the friendship pod
Right.
as a way of creating peace.
Right. And bringing people together to foster reconciliation
Mm-hmm.
and just understanding.
Yep.
And that's our goal, I think.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. Good job, too. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and Stay tuned. For,
until next time.
yeah, stay
Oh.
tuned. Okay.